What's up, creative community? My name is Lorenzo. This is the Coach MC Studio, and this is the place where we'll help you to shape unique behavior deliveries and where we'll help you, actors, performers, entertainers, to really stand out in the audition room, really perform something amazing, and deliver a unique product that really just belongs to you in the most authentic, impactful, and genuine way possible. And I want to talk about Rings of Power, but you know me by now. I want to highlight something completely different. I want to give my take on the whole story. I don't just want to blame, hate, or slam the show. By no means. Everyone is working. To me, it's not important to criticize. It's important to understand and to learn and to extract what's useful for us and discard the useless, like Master Bruce Lee always said. So in today's acting breakdown, I'm specifically looking at the characters and what the characters are doing, because I feel this is the most important part for us actors, especially when we get a breakdown of a character that we need to interpret for our next audition. What can we relate to? Accordingly to the script, we have to behave, to act, and to speak. And the more genuine and the more relatable we are, and the more authentic we are, and the more faithful we are to our lore, to the canon, to the beautiful description of the author and what the director is giving us, or the casting director is giving us in form of directions, the better we come across, the less energy we need to use, and the more authentic we will perform. And that makes a great character. Let's talk about what the description of a character can give us and how we can use this to propel our performance to get better every day and to get noticed every time we get called to action, ladies and gentlemen. Without any further ado, let's dive right into it and let's see what's cooking. I have to admit it, I love Tolkien. I love Lord of the Rings deeply and dearly. There's always a book very close to me because when I feel bad, when I'm upset or angry, I just have to read a couple of pages and I calm myself down because the language is so beautiful. The characters are incredibly compelling and the plot overall tells a very mystical, mysterious, and mythological story in which each and every one of us can find something where we can identify ourselves with that culture. And that is the beauty of culture, of entertainment industry. I will give you some context here. I grew up with acting. And since I was so eager to act all the time, I started also role-playing games. Because role-playing games were just a way for me to express my acting critical mass. I loved the fantasy world. I loved dragons. I loved unicorns. I loved flying horses and all that, witches and magic. And I could kind of just be someone else. So I started with Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Shadowrun, and vampires and all that. But back then when I started, it was all about fantasy. It was always related to Middle Earth. You were always thinking about the original material. And the original material for all the role-playing game geeks out there was always and will always be the Lord of the Rings. Because that is like the best way on how to describe a dragon. Because Tolkien's way of describing a dwarf was the best way of describing a dwarf. And describing an elf and describing a human and the gods and all the clashes between the forces of good and evil. This was the guiding light. Why am I telling this? When you're playing a role-playing game, you are choosing a character. And that is very similar to acting, right? And this character usually has a description. In role-playing game, there is a master, a game master, who kind of describes the world, who leads the story, who gives out points and artifacts and kind of tells everything that's gonna happen, right? And if you encounter an enemy or a friend or something unexpected, or if you're running into a new village, he would actually, check on every character that was kind of playing their story if they were playing their characters according to what the description, the original description of that character was. If you weren't playing your character related to what the description of the character was, the game master could actually subtract some points, some experience points from your playing sheet. And that would be bad because while everybody else was progressing, you were kind of sitting there and waiting for your experience point to kind of, boost up your character and get new items and become better, right, with your skills. So kind of step up your levels till you would actually become like a venerated warrior or like a great magician or like a very wise druid, someone who was really involved in the game. So your mission wasn't really to fight the enemy or to get the artifact or to win the battle. It was really just about playing as originally and authentically the character. and you had to kind of stay consistent with that way of playing. So you had different characters, and they were all standing for their own world, for their own lore, for their own little quirks and details, and yes, nerdism, but it was all rooted into the lore. And that helped me a lot with acting. Why am I saying all this? If you are tackling a story like Rings of Power, which is based on the works of Tolkien, you had different primordial archetypes. And these archetypes, they are not just races, they are standing for a character. And that character has a very specific description. And that character needs to act according to that description. Otherwise, the whole game, the whole entertainment, the whole story becomes a mess. If a magician all of a sudden behaves like a warrior and wants to fight and becomes like a brute, he's not a magician anymore. Because a magician needs to be mysterious. A magician needs to look into the arcane lore, right? A magician talks about runes, about signs, about deception. A magician creates magic out of thin air, right? A warrior just takes a piece of steel and fights off the enemy. It's completely different. It's a different world. You get the idea. Talking about characters, let's jump into the section of kind of looking at the singular characters and if they are behaving accordingly to the description, or at least try to reverse engineer the description, what they're all about. And again, this is not to openly criticize Amazon Prime, the showrunners or the actors of the Rings of Power. They wouldn't listen anyway. I don't want to criticize them because I feel a lot of my fellow YouTubers are doing that already. They're doing this very fine. And me as a person, Lorenzo, yes, I'm upset with certain decisions they made or twisting the story. I'm not okay with a few things they are doing right now, but this is not about me denigrating the show. This is just destructive. Even though I can understand, and it's legitimate, that some people like to vent their frustration and their anger about what's going on in the show. To me, like I'm always saying, it's all about the culture. It's always about getting better in the process. That's what art, culture, acting should be all about. That's why I'm just focusing on what potentially could have been done better to understand what we could implement in the future as actors whenever we get called to action. So let's look at certain characters and how they behave. Look at the Harfoots, for example. They are roaming around the territory. It's said that they are caravanning through the lands, and there is this need for them to always progress, to always move forward, to never stop, relentlessly. This is their quest. It's not been said exactly why they're doing this. Maybe they're looking for a great spot to finally settle down, somewhere where it's safe, where they're not threatened by the wilderness or enemies or anything. Or maybe they have to be somewhere at a certain point. But there is this declared mission of just moving forward, and no one gets left behind. What happens if one member of this Harfoot tribe is injured, or gets injured by some strange reason, or by an attack from a wild animal, and he can't proceed anymore, right? If he can't walk anymore, or if he's not able to contribute to the greater good of the community anymore. Is there like potential space for a conflict? How do I behave? How can I choose between, the greater good of the community or that beloved person that I, hold so dearly in my heart? Is it my own personal well-being that I prefer over the love for someone else, or is it the other way around? This is a very nice conflict. And so that, as an actor, would be something I would immediately pick on, because that's great to work with. There's potentially so many ramifications happening there, so many thoughts, so many inner conflicts, a lot of clashes of interest, and also like a moral question. How can I answer that? When I look at the show, I feel like there is no real conflict. Someone gets injured and says, well, now that I'm injured, I can't help the tribe anymore, so they will discard me eventually because I'm just slowing down the progress of moving forward. People didn't really talk about it. There was no emotional outcome out of that. There was someone who got injured. He just said that he's afraid of not being part of the tribe in the future anymore, but it was just words. Nothing was really happening according to that. Potentially there was a lot of critical mass there that could be used, right, to kind of propel a nice performance, to have a conflict, to talk to the elder leader of the tribe and to the caravan and say, hey, no, wait, we have to take care of that injured person. We are a community. If we leave him behind, what good are we for, right? Where is the moral standpoint here? Are we on the higher ground by leaving him, or are we making ourselves like bad and evil people? That would be potentially like a great acting scene, a nice conflict that could be, carried throughout a whole episode. Nothing like that happened. Again, it's not to criticize the show, their showrunners, because I see how much difficulty there is in shooting such an immense, such an expensive, high budget show. But I'm just pointing it out so you guys understand, like, can I do better next time when I get called to action and I have to decide between my personal interest, the greater good? Would I sacrifice my own health just to help someone else out? Or can I deviate from my original path just to take someone with me, even if he slows me down initially at first? Or should I just progress, and that is legitimate too, and maybe live with the bad conscience? All that potentially would have been like a great story to tell. Is this loyal to a character description? Does this really make sense in the context? Ask yourself this, because this is exactly what we're doing as actors all the time. You see where I'm going with this? When we get our sides and we get the description of our character and we see a line that is conflicting with the character description, try and understand why the character is saying that and try to build a way around that. Try to incorporate that into your act and show it to me. Or if you still are clueless why the character is saying something that has potentially nothing to do with its original description, maybe you ask someone, how is this meant to be? Is this not conflicting, or where is this happening right now in the life of the character? Maybe he's going through a strange phase and later on he will realize, okay, back then that was wrong because he realized it has nothing to do with my true nature. It's potentially a lot of stuff that you can come up with that will help you to kind of boost your performance, to build something that is way richer than just, saying the things and just not taking into account if that is conflicting with the original description. Because many times when we get auditions, it happens like the night before. We have to be ready in 24 hours. And so little things like that, even though they shouldn't be regarded as little things, though sometimes they get overlooked. But potentially these details, they will show a great deal about how deep your craftsmanship is, how well built your skills are, and how great you are in showing all these facets and filling them into a body where everything makes sense and is logic and it still is truthful to its original description. Because of course we are contradictory beings. As Harfoots, as elves, as dwarves are, humans are as well. And it could be that one day we wake up and we have a certain idea about the world, but the time we go to bed we have a completely different idea, but we show it in the meanwhile. We act as if we are experiencing all that, and so the audience understands why I'm having second thoughts, why I'm having some moral conflicts, why I'm having this clash of belief systems inside of myself, and why I'm struggling with a certain decision. Again, leaving him behind or moving forward. What is my decision here? Show me why. Talking about elves, one of our main characters in the show The Rings of Power is an elf. In Tolkien's world, elves are immortal. They are ethereal, beautiful, outerworldly, incredible, experienced, wise, immortal beings. Their original form of communication is actually telepathy and music and resonance and singing, not even words. The way they look is already more telling than all the words of this world could actually express. And that's so incredible about them. They have an aura, they're very mysterious, right? And they are the guardians of justice in Middle-earth, in Valinor, in Numenor. So they're hugely important to Tolkien. They're hugely important to the story. And if you have a character description of an elf that says it's a wise, it's an eternal being that is very intertwined with magic and with everything that's mysterious and coming from this star-like place, otherworldly place. So I feel like I'm talking about an alien that is very, very ancient, that thinks about everything he says or he does, that has a very deep bond with nature, with its environment. Because of course, if you're living in a place for thousands of years, you're kind of connected to everything. You're not a human being. And elves usually have long hair because long hair is also a metaphor for wisdom. It's also a receptor. It's like an antenna. You're receiving frequencies. You're sensitive to your environment. You're receiving information also through your hair. So long hair is everything the elves are actually standing for. So when you have a character description like that, you would expect that the character behaves that way. Otherwise, as an audience, you feel a bit confused. Why is an elf all of a sudden behaving like a human being? Like a human that has a mortal life, that will die in a couple of years. As a human being, I understand irrational choices as an audience way better. Because a human being experiences life in a way more condensed way. A human being has to catch up with time, make mistakes. It has to be foolish and irrational. It's just a limited amount of time that the human being has the privilege of being here. And so he does all kinds of things and experiencing things and then tries out things. If an elf behaves like a human, well, it's not faithful to his character description. An elf is mature. An elf is wise. An elf thinks not twice, thrice before he does anything. An elf looks into the future and into the past and lives in the present. It has a different way of looking, of saying, of moving all the time. If all of a sudden an elf moves, behaves, acts and speaks like a human, it's a human. It's not an elf anymore. And so, bada boom, the illusion is gone. It's about adapting and understanding and putting that into work to make our characters more believable, more authentic and more powerful. That's what we always talk about here at the Coach MC studio. You're welcome to check out one of our videos about being realistic, being in the moment and being yourself. But being yourself according to the source material, not just being yourself for the sake of seeing yourself on the big screen, because no one is interested in us. No, because I don't want to be me. When I'm acting, I want to be the character. I have this very narrow road that I can walk down, and I will do my very best each and every day, every hour, every minute, every second on set or on the stage to respect that narrow road. Quite the contrary, to build up an even narrower road. The less choices I have, the more focused I have to be on those few choices I have left. It is power to do the very best with the few things that you have and not to do everything all at once without any reason, because that's not power, that's just messy. That's not interesting to act, right? Power is to use the instruments that you got according to your description and try to put them to work every time you need to display them in the scene, during the story, making the story come alive, because we are just the creation of the author, and this creation gets morphed by the director according to his vision with the DOP, with the lighting department and with everyone else, so we can help to move the story forward. It's not about us, it's about the story, it's about the beauty of the words and how the characters kind of fit into this magic and majestic puzzle that fantasy worlds can sometimes be. So if an elf acts irrational, acts strong-headed, is not likable and seems not to be wise and acts foolish and behaves like a warrior sometimes and sometimes like a human and sometimes like someone else, it's all over the place, that is not power, that is just confusion. I don't see the character there as an audience. The same thing will be true in the casting director's office. The casting director will tell you why you're behaving this way. Just show me how you act and how you overcome your difficulties according to the narrow path that you have to walk down. That is the character description. All of a sudden, I can emphasize with your struggle, with your problems, and I can understand, all right, he has an inconsistency, he has to collaborate, he has to overcome that inconsistency, he has to kind of find a way of getting smarter and wiser and fight off his demons. All of a sudden, I can relate as an audience, because guess what? We all have to fight our demons. If you have a character that doesn't need to fight any demons, it's not interesting, it's not compelling. And unfortunately, this happens quite a lot with the main character in the Rings of Power. It's an unrelatable, unlikable, no stakes type of character that is able to pull off everything, everywhere, all at once, and doesn't act according to his original description. I'm not blaming the actress here. If you have such a difficult script and such an humongous task, maybe you're new to the game, or maybe you're new to this type of setting. The pressure is very high and all eyes are on you. So it's really hard to kind of fulfill all those missions. It's really hard to kind of play this character faithfully and still be believable and likable at the same time. But you have to try. As a character, as an actor who's playing such a difficult character, you have to talk with the directors, you have to talk with the people in charge, you have to talk with your fellow colleagues to make this happen. I have to come up with a solution. That's my responsibility as an actor. That's what we get paid for. That's the heart. That's the pumping heart of acting. If you leave that heart, then you have a soulless character, and you don't want that. Let's get to the final chapter. The reason to live, the reason to breathe, the reason to go on. If it's not for a woman, why are you doing this as a man? I think women are a joy not only to watch but to perceive, because they are different than men. And that's so beautiful about them. They are a gift from the universe to give birth to other life. Over the last couple of years, women have fought for a brighter forum, for more platforms, for voicing their needs and their passions as well, to be represented, in the movies, on the screen, and also in plays in a broader way, to give them more horizons, to give them more depth, even though to be honest, if you look at classical literature, you look at very strong women. You look at incredible characters. Think about Shakespeare, think about Jeanne d'Arc, think about Gretchen and Faust, from Goethe. I mean, it can't get any deeper than that. Look at Greek mythology, all the wars that just basically happening because of women. The Greek goddesses, I mean, they're just incredible, they're powerful. They have everything that you need for a compelling story. We remember them and we will remember them forever. So women have this mythological pull. To a certain extent, I really don't understand this crusade that is now going on in turning the woman into a man, in militarizing the needs of the woman and showing women in entertainment industry as if they were men, fighting like a man, cursing like a man, behaving like a man, and acting physically as if they are like a super strong man with a lot of muscles, which of course they don't have. The great things about role-playing games and acting and fantasy stories is always the collaboration. Me, as a human being, there is no more beautiful task to collaborate with my wife and to understand what she needs and to compensate her weak points with my strong suits and to let her compensate my inconsistencies, which there are way more than hers, let's admit it, with her strong suits, because she's a fucking Libra. She's the balance, she's the justice of the universe. Without her, I would be lost. And this is the beauty of collaboration, yin and yang. Different people, different subjects, different temperatures that come together to achieve something greater than their individualistic views or individual needs and small ambitions. It's about achieving something that is way beyond our little dreams. Women, they gave birth. They are here to complete the cycle of life. While we are long gone, our thoughts will, continue to live and to survive and to strive till eternity because of that cycle of life. We are stripping the woman from all its magic, from all its wisdom, from all its beauty, and from all the mythological subconscious aspect, the temptation a woman also represents all the time. Because that's what we're in for. This is the game of extracting, of giving back, of compensating, of course also expanding and retracting when it's necessary, because we're doing this for the sake of collaboration, for the sake of survival. If we neglect that, we neglect the very essence of our reality, and that would be bad. But that's exactly what I'm seeing in all of these movies, and unfortunately also in the Rings of Power, where men are just weak. They're just banal. They're just happening to be there. There is no collaboration. Women, they are strong. They lead. Everybody's listening to the woman in all of the scenes. They can act stupidly, strong-mindedly, irrationally, even harsh, even in an unlikable way. And everybody says afterwards, oh, she's amazing. For no reason. In real life, if you act like some of the women in Rings of Power would act, especially our main character, nobody would help her. Nobody would like to collaborate with her. And nobody would give a damn about her, and we wouldn't call her amazing. Please don't judge me here as someone who's saying, oh, all the women should just give birth and stay at home. No, all the women should, have the right and the privilege and the freedom to be magical and do whatever they want to do to feel fulfilled. And our mission is a complete different one. Why give women the same mission, the same appeal, the same look, the same description as men have? Again, coming back to the character description, does this make sense? Is this a way of making it relatable for the audience? Giving women all the leading factors and stripping men away from all of their missions? Here, unfortunately, we see women that are not able to communicate, collaborate, find any compromise. It seems like they are standing for a strange cause that has no place to stay in a fantasy world. This world is all about magic, about things that are happening above and beyond, that are not always explainable by words. It's not a reflection of our world, and there is no need to fight the good fight of emancipation or anything like that. Even if so, this is not emancipation. This is just an overly exaggerated way of displaying the woman, putting all the eggs in one basket and leaving no eggs left for all the other baskets. It gives the story a very heavy inclination towards the characters of the women and leaving no weight, no meaning, no substance to the other actors, to the other characters. And so it's not a collaboration. You see where I'm getting with this? In a scene, when you're approaching your audition, your character needs to come down to reason with someone else. He needs to collaborate. There is another character who compensates your inconsistencies, like in real life, like in every relationship, whether it's your family, your beloved ones, your partners, or at work. We always need to collaborate and find solutions. If we just have the solutions always coming from one source, it's very boring for you to be there in the first place. You wouldn't be there. And that's the same thing for the audience when they're watching you, playing out a scene. Who you like to collaborate with? How do you try to convince someone else of the importance of your mission? And how do you achieve that? How do you extract something from someone else that can be used for your own mission? How can we, get there together with combined forces? Because you got a strong suit, I got a strong suit. Let's combine this all together and let's be better together. Not just me following you because you're way stronger, way better, way smarter, way faster than me. This is not how life works. This is not how society works. Whether that's in fantasy land or whether that's somewhere else, like in the future in a science fiction based story, right? We always need to collaborate. Tolkien, in his description about each and every character, is always in his story migrating, always traveling to the singularity of the core of its story. It's all about death and deathlessness and what the ring represents, the singularity. It's like a black hole. It sucks everything in. Despise their color, their race, gender, and everything else. It's not about that. It's about solving the mystery of life and overcoming that singularity of the ring and bringing good back to the people. How will you bring good back to the people if you are acting bad all the time, even though you claim you have good purposes? What kind of world do you want to build? Actors, performers, entertainers, I hope you enjoyed this acting breakdown of the Rings of Power. Leave a like if you were appreciating this video. Join us on the Saturday Night Hypnosis extravaganza with my man Hypnotic, Will of the Fans, Wyatt, and Prime the Godfather 76 for another epic over 2 hours talk about Marvel Universe, DC Universe, about the Rings of Power, about entertainment industry, about the culture we're in, and we are, highlighting different aspects. Everybody's kind of putting something in, and it's a funny show. I love all of the guys out there. We are a great team, so by all means, don't forget to kind of join the show. I will leave the link down in the description below if you want to follow my other adventures, more artistic adventures as well. Just, catch me up on Instagram where it's the Coach MC. DM me if you got any questions there. And if you want to collaborate, if you're thinking about, stepping up your acting game, you want to enhance your creativity or scale your business, if you're thinking about creating a new show reel or taping a self-tape, just write me a nice email on thecoachmc.studio. Just write me something nice. Activate the bell so you never miss out on a video that we grind out here. We're just a fairly small channel. It makes such endeavor worthy if you just smash the bell and leave a like right away. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far. Follow us on TikTok as well, where it's the TikTok tactics on acting, on mindset, on many other beautiful things. See you next time, guys, with a new video. I'm out and you are ready to perform.